Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad here with Doug.
Hi.
So Doug got a chance to pick up Destiny 2 and spend probably about a week or two at this point with it, I think. Right?
Yeah,
Week or two?
I actually got it. I actually pre-ordered it. I did like the day one.
Whoa.
I pre-ordered a GameStop. I feel so dirty.
You went to GameStop too?
Yeah, so
You
bad.
don't
I got a little figurine too and everything.
This is shocking for two reasons. First, I don't know the last time you said I went to GameStop, and second, I don't know the last time you told me you pre-ordered a game. What was the last game you pre-ordered?
Honestly, Arkham Knight, because they also which I pre-ordered at GameStop to get the free DLC, which was all terrible.
All right, so there you go. So is Destiny 2 better than Arkham Knight?
Yeah, definitively maybe. I liked Arkham Knight. Well, sort of. We'll
All right.
talk about Arkham Knight later.
So I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. So we've talked about this a little bit before in some video
Yeah,
at some point. You're new to Destiny. You just picked up
yeah,
Destiny 1 within the last year, and really
yeah.
didn't have much experience with it prior to that. So I'm curious, kind of seeing the final product of Destiny and the beginning product of Destiny 2. Is there an evolution from that, or is it just kind of that half step that I think we saw with Taken King and things like that?
Oh, I think yeah, that's like one of those like weird misconceptions. I kind of feel like Destiny 2 got this like weird sort of like, oh, it's just Destiny 1.5, but like I played Destiny 1 to the full, like I played Destiny 1 when it was like quote unquote complete.
Yeah,
Like that was like when I first started, but when the time I started, like the last expansion had already been like well released and all the final patches had already come in. So I actually did play like Destiny, like the best thing it ever been, and then I went to Destiny 2. And I do feel like Destiny 2, it feels to me personally like it definitely feels like a sequel, and just it feels like one of those sequels that's very evolutionary, where it just feels like every little thing in this game is improved. That was like over Destiny 1. Like there, I would say there's like one or two little things that I didn't like they did in Destiny 2, but like just across the board, like every little thing they did, like every little thing that was kind of annoying in Destiny 1, I felt like they fixed it. Um, and then on top of that, like they added that single player story, which I really do want to talk about because I think it's actually super, super interesting. The
that's
actual
actually
like
what I'm.
campaign.
Yeah, so that's actually what I'm most curious about too.
Yeah, the campaign mission, and then on top of that, like they completely revitalized like the art style in actually kind of a really neat way that I really appreciate. But I think what people like when they play Destiny, there's these sort of like these very mm, well-defined gameplay loops that people kind of get stuck in. It's like, oh, it's just Destiny 1 because these gameplay loops are very similar to it's just like Destiny 1.5 because these gameplay loops are very similar to Destiny 1. And I was like, yeah, in that regard, sure. But just like you're kind of ignoring all of this cool new stuff that they're trying to do with the Destiny universe and all that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like to me it feels like a full blown sequel. Like to me, like I feel like when I think of those like 1.5 sequels, like I immediately go to Batman Origins or Assassin's Creed Brotherhood or Bioshock 2 would be another
Yeah,
one that I would consider like sort of those like half sequels. But no, like to me, like every way, shape, and form, this feels like it feels like a full blown sequel. But on the same note, I guess this is kind of like when we start moving talking about the campaign, it does feel like it's like laid the groundwork for something new rather than just being this like full complete. It's not you're not getting that full complete Destiny 1 package that I played with this one. You're getting a very cool, very solid foundation, which they're clearly going to build on top of, which I actually find exciting, and I could see people find super annoying.
yeah. I think you mentioned that there's kind of this definite like there's that hook of something else is coming, and we're going to be prompting you to buy something later on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as you go through. But I think that's a known thing with I think MMOs in general and Destiny the way
Hmm.
Destiny 1 played out. But I do want to talk about that campaign. So
Yeah.
the I think that was kind of the negative piece, the part that always kind of took the hit for Destiny was
Hmm.
that campaign was pretty garbage, at least especially when it was originally released. I think Taken King and Rise of Iron added a lot more to it, but that original
Yeah, yeah.
Destiny, that was the weak point. So hearing that that's kind of a strength here from you, why? What's different now?
I think Destiny. I think the thing that's really cool about Destiny 2 is not okay. I think the campaign itself, like if you took the campaign, like sort of like the plot beats are really just they're very similar. Like so the opening, I this is so weird doing a Destiny 2 review because anybody who care about this is already playing Destiny 2. Um,
That's not true because I'm actually very interested. I have not touched it though because Danganronpa.
Okay. Well, I have to spoil the opening of Destiny 2 because it basically sets up the whole plot of Destiny 2. It's like how the opening of what the opening is. The opening is essentially that this character comes in and captures the what's the big ball called? Oh my god,
The Watcher, Guardian.
the what? No, good lord.
It's something like that.
I think
Traveler, the Traveler.
the Traveler. Thank you. So they capture the Traveler and basically cut off the light from everybody. Like the first mission is like you have these cool superpowers, like you're basically a super powered up character, and then you lose all that. And then through the course of the campaign, you regain your powers.
Yep.
You sort of collect your different characters, and you all go for one big finale at the end, sort of thing.
Ooh.
So the plot itself is not, I would say, is not inherently interesting.
Okay.
I think how the plot plays out in the context of the Destiny universe is really, really interesting. One of the big sort of driving forces of the themes of the game is that because they no longer have light, it's not that they're not only are they not superpowered, but they can't come back to life after they die. So in Destiny 1, every time you die, you just respawn.
Yeah.
That is actually like a huge major plot point in this. Like the only reason that characters can't, like, everybody acknowledges that everybody's basically immortal and that they're respawning because of the light. So basically when that light is cut off from them, they're now all dealing with their mortality.
So they're some kind of like permadeath in this. Is that what you're saying, or?
Yeah. I mean, it's a video game, so clearly you are not going to have. There's not permadeath in it, but like,
well, like I'm thinking
in the
like
context,
in a Fire Emblem sense, where like Fire Emblem, like one of your party members dies, they're dead.
Yeah, and it's in the context of the story yes, there is permadeath. Like people will die now. So it's a lot of these characters trying to grapple now with the fact that what they do now, like they actually really need to worry about what they're doing because like shit, I could actually die this time. And then you meet this whole other band of characters who've never had the light and are used to dealing with mortality, basically like sort of like teaching these immortal characters like, hey, we never had the light. We've been having to fight out here outside the city our entire lives. And like it's kind of okay, I guess you guys sort of think you know what sacrifice is, but you don't know what sacrifice is if there's no punishment for your death. Ooh. So it's kind of like interesting. It's these sort of like this conflict between these, not conflict, but it's these two people are on the same side, these immortals who thought they understood what sacrifice meant, but are now mortals. And then these mortals telling them, hey, you guys never knew what sacrifice was to begin with. Even though you guys die plenty of times, death means nothing to you. So it's this weird, like, yeah. And I know that sounds really strange in the context of Destiny and you're shooting a bunch of people and stuff.
What a philosophical thought process for a first-person shooter.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then like the main bad guy, like the whole thing is like, he's going to take the light for himself. And then, but like his sort of, I guess it's kind of that would be kind of getting to spoiler territories, but how he treats, because he's not jealous of humans, but he doesn't understand, the main villain doesn't understand why the Traveler wouldn't pick him to be a carrier of the light.
Oh, okay. So he's got that like chip on his shoulder, like, why am I not one of your chosen things?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a character it's kind of spoiler if I told you who it was, but there's a character that he has a conversation with. The main bad guy is captured and has a conversation with throughout the entire game. And you just like really the only sense you get of that main bad guy is him having a conversation with this character and them talking back and forth about what it means to be chosen by the Traveler.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird because all of that sort of like stuff I found really interesting about the story is sort of just wrapped into that, you're shooting a bunch of people stuff. Like it's still very similar to Destiny gameplay, but I thought those sort of like wrinkles in the story were really, really interesting. And I think that there's a really cool thing that, I guess it's hard to talk about just know the gameplay is still pretty good. So I don't know if this is like getting spoilery for you. You can just tell me to stop at any point.
Yeah.
But the thing that's kind of interesting, so I think this has been this is shown in like previous trailers and stuff, but like the three main the people who sat at the table in Destiny 1.
Yeah.
So now they're actually very well. They're not. I wouldn't say they're very well explored characters, but they definitely explore those characters more. And then, so what I was talking before, like how they're grappling with their mortality, how those three characters, based on their archetype. Like how like one's a warlock, one's a hunter, and one's a vanguard, and like they play with the fact that like they're those archetypes, so they're acting a certain way in dealing with this grief. But all those things can be lost if you aren't sitting there kind of like just like listening to this. You can just be like, okay, this story is like, all right, well, the bad guys, we're getting the good guys, and then we're gonna fight the bad guys, sort of thing. Like, yeah, that plot isn't interesting. It's these discussions that these characters are having. It all feels very Star Warsy too.
It's
On
weird.
top of everything.
It's weird that we're having this very detailed conversation about character depth in Destiny.
Yeah,
That feels very out of place, and that's do think that's one of those things that I think a lot of games gain a lot from is that personality of characters, and I think adding that,
yeah,
and I think that was one of the things that for me I really liked Destiny, but that was one of those things that never really sat well. Is it just felt like I'm going through a universe of essentially just faces and nobody has any personality and they just have a
yeah.
title and they're who they are because they have a title. So I think that's a really cool step to take to do that. And I think that's something that even Bungie looking at Halo, that's kind of what they did with Halo 2 is like the first Halo, there's zero personality in pretty much any of those characters with the exception of
Yeah.
a little bit here or there. But by the time you get to the end of kind of Bungie's Halo trilogy and Bungie's time with Halo, you have very well defined characters. You have characters who have roles based purely on their personalities, and I think that's kind of cool that that's getting put into Destiny as well. And
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of to me it's like kind of the reverse of Horizon, where I felt Horizon had a really interesting plot and really interesting like backstory and stuff,
yeah,
but not super interesting characters. Well, this one, the plot itself isn't interesting, but it's how the characters are reacting to that plot that is very interesting, like to the core of it.
yeah,
Um,
I always think that's
yeah,
interesting seeing the way games handle that kind of stuff, and I think there's some games that drive that plot in different ways. So I never would have thought Destiny 2 would have been a character game that's driving you
no,
forward.
yeah, and it's not, and you know what it is, like you can treat it not like that too. Like you can absolutely just like kind of blow if you just want to blow through the campaign and just to get to your level 20, it's like yeah, you can do that. But like I think if you don't sit there and like listen to how these characters, because I feel like whenever I see the campaign, everybody talks about it's like oh, it has these really cool scenes and then some of the characters are kind of neat, but I don't know why they're not talking about that like really cool aspect of like basically the whole thing where it's basically like all these characters like dealing like in mourning. It's a very sad thing, and the thing that's really cool, what they did with the armor types and stuff is because everybody's sort of like a ragtag group now. Your armor is not cool like at all for like the first like for like most of the campaign because in the context of the story, the well, whatever armor everybody was using before, like they've now had to make new armor like this because I don't quite know Destiny lore, so I'm sure you know if you're listening to this and complaining about Destiny lore, you're clearly know more about Destiny than I do, and I don't know why you're listening to this anyway.
Please
But
insult the audience more.
but there's some sort of connection with like the armor that people are wearing and the light. Like there's some like sort of imbued together sort of thing. At least in Destiny 1. So now that imbuing no longer exists, they have to create their own new armor. And it's basically you have like a bunch of like really like raggedy clothes of like people like sort of like handmade armor. I played a warlock, so like a lot of it just kind of like seemed like Shaolin monk stuff, like really handmade, like ropes and things like that. And then you slowly like now that I'm like level 20 and like whatever my really high light level and stuff, like now I have cool armor. But it's really interesting kind of seeing that progression of like of not of like these character of like your armor and the environment sort of reflecting that kind of that you're not the most powerful entity in this universe anymore. I think like in Destiny 1 they sort of like you're in sort of this like high glass citadel thing.
Yeah,
Not glass is not the right word, but you're just like that sort
yeah,
of like all powerful being. And this one, like you're clearly not. You're clearly like the bottom of the bottom of the totem pole. And then as you progress through it, and I will say like I really did enjoy the conclusion of the game. And I think the thing that's really cool about the game, I think in Destiny 1, once you got done with the main campaign, then you just got in sort of this like kind of weird grindiness to it. But like something
yes,
happens at the end of Destiny 2's campaign where it does definitely feels like let's go on another adventure. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's go on another adventure. I'm buying that expansion pack. Because I definitely feel like I got my 30 hours. I got my 30 or 40 hours on Destiny 2, and I was like, you know, I'm okay with that being the foundation. Like I'm ready to see the next step because that arc like clearly ended. And now they're saying there's just more arcs to come. Not that this arc didn't finish. So it's kind of like to me it's very similar to Star Wars. Like in A New Hope, like if you watch New Hope as itself, like okay, that is its own story arc. Yeah, there's more to come.
yeah. It
So,
has that
but
Empire Strikes Back. We're sitting here looking out, knowing something else is coming.
no, it's not. Yeah, I would say it's definitely not as open. Like it's not like main characters suddenly disappear. It's like, are they gonna get them back? But it definitely hints at like there's definitely more stuff to come. But the story thus far, actually, I would say actually has like a very satisfying conclusion. of like of where the characters are now, then moving forward with these characters having learned what they learned in Destiny's 2 campaign, now going forward with a little bit more confidence and a little bit more sense of self and sacrifice and that sort of thing. Games also plays fun. I don't know. It's pretty good.
I mean, I think that's what I think that is the thing with this is there's no question about that kind of stuff. I think this was the
Yeah.
stuff that raised the questions of the campaign of what is the early stages of Destiny 2 like. 'Cause I think that's where Destiny 1 did struggle. But in
Yeah.
terms of once you hit that 20, I know there is a whole lot. The game opens up a lot there. Is it
Yeah.
just raids and strikes and that kind of thing? Like, what is it? Just more of that kind of stuff that you're just doing
Kind of.
those individual
I
kind
could,
of mission type things?
yeah, it's definitely feels a little bit quote unquote grindy. But the thing that's kind of neat is like there's so many activities that are so easy to do at any time. I'd say there's like maybe 5 separate activities you can do at any given time, and they're oh my god, they made this game like so much easier to track stuff and go to things and just do a thing that you want to do. Like you can just
Yeah.
like wander. I was like, you know what, today I'm just gonna explore. I'll go do exploring missions. Okay, you know what? I just want to shoot a bunch of guys. I'm gonna go do the shoot a bunch of guys missions. Okay, I like want to do this thing. I want to do this thing. I want to do this thing. So it definitely feels like whatever mood you're in, you can just like kind of put into it. I've actually treated Destiny 2 now that I'm like past level 20. It's kind of like the time I would spend playing Rocket League, where it's kind of like I don't know. This is gonna sound weird. I call them like potato chip games, where it's just like where it's just something like it's a game that you just constantly just keep going back to, and you've only played like maybe 15 20 minutes of it, but you're like, oh, I'm really satisfied with that. And that's what I felt with Rocket League. But Rocket League, all I could do is just play Rocket League, while in Destiny 2, like there's a number of activities I can do. So I've kind of treated in that aspect, and there are some like quests that open up. I'll say there's definitely nothing as extravagant as the campaign. I have not gotten to the big raid because I don't have a group to do it because I play primarily co-op with my dad. Like we co-op through the entire campaign by ourselves, and you need like 6 people, and everybody needs to be like really good at the game and stuff. And it's just I don't even want to like get into that stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's understandable. Competitive
yeah,
multiplayer.
it's um, I played a little bit of it. I will say it is. I don't want this to be like a hot take sort of thing, but it's so exceedingly average compared to a lot of other multiplayer games I played recently. Like Titanfall 2 multiplayer, like is awesome. Like I freaking
Yep.
love Titanfall 2 multiplayer. I think it's super original, very exciting stuff. Quake, I think. Well, I play a little bit of Unreal Tournament, the new Unreal Tournament. I think you play. I play a little bit Lawbreakers as well. Like Destiny is the worst of those. It's just very, very average, in my
Okay.
opinion. So I don't quite understand. I think it might maybe it's just that Halo legacy of like we have to at least like acknowledge it sort of thing. But it just feels like so exceedingly average, like a ton of other multiplayer games I've played recently. That like I don't know why you'd even bother playing that if you have another option to go to.
Really?
Um,
Huh.
yeah, it's just it's standard arena gameplay that is
Yep.
kind of like Halo, but due to the wackiness of everybody having like weird weapons and stuff, feels unbalanced. It feels unbalanced because everybody has super wacky weapons, but at the same time, it feels way too balanced because everybody does about the same amount of damage. It's not fun. It's just not fun.
Oof.
I don't. Yeah, Titanfall 2, like I was not very good at that game, but I found that really fun. I'm not very good at Destiny 2, and I don't find it fun at all.
Oh
So
well.
yeah.
Okay. But the single player is fantastic.
Single players. Yeah, I mean, well, we're saying single player, but I think this is a game that I don't think you should play Destiny without. I like totally stand by this, but I don't think you should play Destiny without a dedicated co-op partner. I don't. It's kind of like Portal 2 single player is not something I think a lot of people talk about anymore, but everybody talks about the Portal 2 co-op stuff because it was
Yeah.
such a good co-op experience, and that's what I would kind of treat this as. Like it might be pretty good as like playing single player, but like the game is a multiplayer game. You should be playing a co-op. If you don't like co-op, even if you don't like co-op games, 'cause I inherently don't like them. This is like definitely one to try because to me I compare it. It is the shooter version of Portal 2 puzzle co-op.
Hmm. Nice.
Yeah. Hmm?
All right. Well, there you have it. Destiny 2. So we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming or subscribe to us on YouTube, and we will see you later.
Bye.